Eating in restaurants is an enjoyable experience for many. It is also one of the many indulgences people give to themselves. But what happens when that enjoyable experience is ruined, such as the case of Allison?
Mahilig ako kumain sa mga restaurants. Mahilig ako mag-resto hopping. Parang ayun ang passion ko. Gusto ko matry ko every restaurant, whether karinderya, fast food, or fine dine. Fast food, mga siguro 3 times a week. Kasi minsan tatamad ako magluto. Minsan pag nasa labas ako, ayun yung mas convenient eh, mas mabilis. Parang ito isang local fast food chain, sa may amin lang. So, order ako ng pasta at saka chicken, isa sa mga combo meals nila. So, nung kumakain na akong gano'n, hinahalo ko yung pasta, hindi naman siyang gano'ng kasaucy. So, kita mo kung ano yung laman ng pasta na yon. So, nung nakasubo na ako, nung hinalo ko siya ulit, may mga parang paa ng ipis kasi mas spiky siya eh. So, dinala ko siya doon sa counter. Tapos pinakita ko, sabi ko parang may paa ng ipis. So, yung nag-entertain sa akin na crew, parang medyo rude siya. So, tinawag nila yung manager. Tapos tinignan yung manager yung food, yung plate ko, na medyo skeptic siya. Sabi nga, hindi, parang hibla ata ito ng karne. Which is hindi naman, kasi pahaba siya eh. Tapos nung na-confirm nga niya na parang paa siya ng ipis, parang nag-offer siya na nag-sorry naman siya, nag-offer siya ng palitan. Pero hindi na ako, parang ayoko na kasi feeling ko naman, so since merong isang foreign thing na dun sa food ko, feeling ko contaminated na yung kung ano man merong food sa kanila dun sa kitchen nila.
What are the laws that apply to restaurant services? What does the government do to protect consumers from restaurants that give bad services? What are the penalties for restaurants that do not follow the laws? Good evening, I am Attorney Karen Jimeno and you are watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you.
And I'm Attorney Nepomuceno. Tonight, we will be discussing your legal rights on the issue of consumer rights with regard to restaurants. What you need to know about your rights as a customer of a restaurant and what you need to do when you are in a situation where you're inconvenienced. We'll discuss this with our guest who is in charge of handling such cases in one of the biggest cities in the metro.
Our guest for tonight is Mr. Gary Domingo, Chief of the Business Permit and Licensing Office for Quezon City. Good evening, Mr. Domingo.
Hi, Karen. Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah. Evening. So,
you know, I was so impressed that he's our guest today. He's
yeah,
really had a lot of experiences with business permit, licensing, not only in Quezon City, before for the city
Before I served as the Chief of Business Permits and Licensing Office in Pasay City for ages during the time of Mayor P.V. Trinidad. And now I'm 2 years into my job as BPLO Chief of Quezon City under Mayor Herbert Bautista.
So you've seen a lot of complaints in your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows very well how to handle it. Yeah. So let's go to the case of Allison. Kasi I'm sure she's not the only exception. I've had friends who have also had experiences with either insects, minsan hair, sa food.
Yeah, normally in cases like that, since we are also implementing the Sanitation Code of the Philippines and also we have local ordinances that deals on sanitation, complaints like that, we can go to our office and we can take action on that.
Take action. And now, normally, in the usual, what are the usual cases? Is it normally they had maybe stomach pain or they got sick or is that the usual?
Yeah, that's the usual, or those with like foreign objects like insect parts on their food. But this is one very important thing that our consumers should understand. Their complaint should be documented. If they're saying that the food is dirty, as soon as they see it, they have to document that.
You mean take pictures?
Take picture, get the food or have it examined in a laboratory that's accredited by the
Have it examined.
But then, if you have it examined in a laboratory, won't that be expensive or time-consuming? Which laboratory can they go to?
Any laboratory.
Hospitals
we just need findings,
meron?
a documentation. Documentation that will just support their claim. Because also we have to understand that there are people who do it for a living.
That's right. I've been on the other side. I've represented a firm, a restaurant, where the complaint was there were cockroaches in the
But initially, based on their complaint, we can take immediate action by, if they have a complaint letter, usually what we do is to have the establishment inspected, and then after that, we furnish them a copy of the complaint and to explain to us.
Na Mr. Domingo, meron ba silang timeline within which to complain? Meaning, kunwari, pinalampas mo ng 4 months, 5 months, tapos saka na ka lang nagreklamo. Will that work against them?
Sa amin, sa standpoint ng local, hindi.
Okay.
Time is not of the essence sa amin. Basta sa amin may complainant. But as I've said, the longer it takes, the harder it will be for you to prove.
I guess, no? Yeah.
Kasi kung meron kang pagkain o soft drinks na nirereklamo, contaminated na siya. Kung na-open mo siya at nag-antay ka ng 5 months before you complain. And then naturally, if you look at it, contaminated.
Yeah. Now, a lot of our viewers are probably asking, obviously, your office takes on I guess, kind of a quasi-legal role.
And a lot of people are probably wondering why someone from the business permit and licensing office, not someone from the DTI. And I guess this is where you can clarify. Ano ba ang jurisdiction pagka ang rinereklamo ay restaurants?
No, you have to bear in mind that the restaurants will secure their permit from us. So we're the only office who can revoke that permit. And for as long as they have permit, they can operate. They can have cases filed against them with the DTI or whatever or other national agencies. But for as long as they have the permit to operate, they will continue to do business. But once we revoke it, even if they don't have any complaints with other national agencies, then their operation.
So in short, it's your office. It is the most effective.
Kasi
enforcement agency. Kasi you can close them immediately.
To say that, but what I'm telling you is the LGU is just mandated by law and was given power that will allow us to immediately take action on any complaint.
So in this case, Allison could have just gone to the office of the city kung nasan yung restaurant. Filed a complaint, and then, kasi in this case, she was not even interested in getting a replacement because she's right. Paano kung contaminated then with mukhang cockroach pa yung nakita niya, marami daw paa, it would have been contaminated. And in that case, baka hindi lang siya yung biktima, no? So in that case, if it were in a business permit office, they could close that restaurant.
Now, in terms of legal formality lang, kasi a lot of our televiewers, normally they don't like the idea of having to hire a lawyer to draft a complaint. This one, but they can just go to your office.
They can just go to our office. When they go to us and make verbal complaints, what I do is, or just get a coupon band, just write it and sign it. Give me your number, give me your address. Just to see to it na when we go to the establishment, we have something to show them. And may tao talaga. Kasi sometimes iisip na baka harassment on our part. So, and one very good thing going for an LGU like us is the fact that the Supreme Court has ruled in several cases that a business permit is a privilege, meaning it can be revoked anytime.
All right. Okay. So now we have some questions naman from our viewers, Gary, if you don't mind. No? Let's answer a few of them and help our guests. Our first question comes from Janina, and she asks us, after eating at a certain buffet restaurant, my friend and I experienced some stomach problems and diarrhea. I consulted with a doctor and was diagnosed with acute bacterial gastroenteritis. I suspected it was from the food that we ate at that restaurant, so I went back to complain. But the manager wasn't very helpful and insisted that I got it from somewhere else because no other customer was experiencing the same thing. So is this still worth pursuing? I've been absent from work for 3 days because of this. So is this, I guess...
Of course, if you think your right is violated, it will always be worth pursuing it.
Yes.
And in our case, if that's the problem on hand, what they need to do is just after they experience that stomach problem, they go to a clinic, just have a medical certificate that says that at this time he or she was diagnosed to be experiencing stomach problems, and then maybe the receipt from that restaurant on that date can support her complaint.
Yun yung mga documentation that they
Just simple documentation, but you cannot just go to an office, a government office, and say, ang dumi-dumi ng restaurant na yan, nirereklamo ko siya.
Right.
Okay. So this is something she could have done, no, Janina. And also, I'd like to point out, she's been absent for 3 days. Another maybe remedy she has is, of course, to go to court as well and file for a case for damages. Especially since meron siyang hospital expenses. Sa inyo, kaya nyo bang ipa-reimburse sa restaurant pala yung cost?
Ang case na yun, namamagitan kami. And mas madalas naman yung pinagbibigyan kami na ito ayusin nyo na lang para hindi magulo because it's not good for your business. Kung meron pa tayong ganito na magiging normally naayos namin kahit yung kinukwento ko sa inyo na mga scheme na mag-a-apply ka ng trabaho, pag nag-apply ka na, biglang may 3,000 na medical, tas may bibiling ka na product, tas mamaya, ang expense mo na 5,000. Pag nagreklamo sa amin, kaysa isarado namin sila, nire-reimburse na lang.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so it is a
That's
bit
good
powerful.
to know.
All right.
Our next question comes from Dominic, and he asks, does the Consumer Rights Act cover cleanliness in food establishments? I've been to several fast food chains that have problems with their facilities, such as bathrooms, and also I noticed insects crawling in the corners of the restaurants.
Yeah.
I'm not very particular with the details of the provisions of the Consumer Act. But when you talk of cleanliness of establishment, what I know is the sanitation code.
Yes, actually, I was gonna comment that. I think Dominic's question in this case, parang he should know that this would be covered by more the sanitation code, not Consumer Act.
Not a consumer. He didn't consume anything. Pwede nakagamit lang siya ng banyo, di ba? So it
could be a basis. So that's why for you to secure a permit, one requirement is for you to secure a certificate of clearance from the sanitation department of also the local government.
So for any person, katulad ni Dominic, pag napansin nila na madumi restaurant, maraming insekto or ipis, they can go to the local government and report.
Sanitation office.
No, may sanitation office kami, pero since it is a requirement to us, we can also take action on it.
Yeah, it's a requirement for a business permit.
Pag nagreklamo sa amin, papa-inspection namin yung lugar, and then we just request a personnel from the sanitation department to go with the inspection because the inspection power is with the BPL.
Right, okay.
That's good.
Pretty good, huh? All right, our next question naman comes from Carlos, and he asks us, does the Consumer Act cover street food vendors or street food? Yan, mga fishball, squid ball. Kasama ba yung mga yan?
Sa local government, ang nagbibigay ng permit sa mga vendors, yung walang particular place.
Okay.
Meron kaming sariling office doon. Ang tawag ay MDAD. Market Development and Administrative Office Department.
Okay.
Meron kami.
Saan yung office na nagbibigay ng permits in case may reklamo ka sa kanila? Is it also in the City Hall?
Sa City Hall din, sa MDAD naman.
Sa MDAD.
Ito yung mga walang particular address.
Yung mga gumagalaw-galaw kasi.
Fishbowl vendors.
Yes.
Although yung Yakult vendor under the law is considered a peddler, so BPLO siya. Pero yung mga fishball, ang
isaw,
so nasa MDAD siya.
Problema niyan, it moves around, di ba? So that cart, you'll have to look for that person again.
Pero yun din ulit na pagbibigay ng permit ng MDAD, meron ulit sanitation permit yan. Basta lahat ng food products na binebenta, laging meron siyang requirement ng sanitation.
So pag nagkaroon ka ng problema, kunwari food poisoning naman because of yung mga fishballs or isaw na nabili nyo sa kanto, pwede ka rin mag-complain.
Pwede ka magreklamo. Basta, sabi nga natin, moving kasi siya. Basta makikimalolocate siya.
So just to be sure, in case ganahan kami to eat in Quezon City, they have to have some kind of permit in their moving stall?
Meron sila. Meron din sila.
Parang plate sila na.
And would you advise viewers to look for that bago sila bumili? Lalo na kung mga food carts.
Yes, because that's the purpose of having regulatory power sa LGU. To see to it na itong mga kinakain ng mga mamamayan natin na nasa kalye, nagdaan sa mga inspection at na-examine na malinis naman. So, kung may marumi, that could be a ground to revoke their permit para matigil yung operation nila. Kaya, it's good that you go to places na may permit. There's a presumption that this establishment went through the examination.
And if you complain, alam mo rin na marereklamo mo sila because... Our next question comes from Pearl, and she asks, whenever my friends and I eat out, my friends would tell me I am very mean to the waiting staff when they give us the wrong order or bad service. They're worried that they might do something to our food if I continue to do this. Am I wrong in asserting my rights as a consumer? Interesting question. Kasi nakapanood ako before ng some show na hidden cameras. And really, some waiters do that. Parang they spit on the food or put things in the food.
That could. That could happen.
It's possible.
But it's so hard
to prove, no?
Hard to prove.
I mean, if you put your shoe on the food
so
like
maybe
that, it's very hard.
The complainant is just looking at it sa perspective ng yung human nature. If medyo nagalit ka sa isang tao, di ba? Sometimes you think of silly things.
Pero in this question naman, Gary, kung meron bad service nga, can they also go to you to complain? Kung very rude waiter and...
they can, okay. So it's not just because in the restaurant, it's not just the product, not just the food, but also the service, right?
Of course. As I've said, pag mga ganyan na, halimbawa, suplado lang yung mga waiter, may magre-reklamo. Of course, we're the LGU. Kailangan pa rin namin umaksyon dun sa reklamo. Magtatago na lang kami sa mga general law. Okay? Na kailangan hindi kayo, kung nagninegosyo kayo sa Quezon City, hindi naman po pwedeng nagagalit sa inyo yung customer. Hahanap kami ng mga general provisions of the law, yung mga catch-all, to say na, you know, part of your obligation is to keep your customer satisfied.
Siguro that goes into their obligation to train their staff well as well, to be courteous, na wag naman bastos.
Kasi may mga public safety, may public policy, may mga public moral. So, doon ka lang lagi general welfare. Kung yung establishment mo, lagi na lang na nakakaaway ng customer. So, hindi na siya good business sa amin. So, police power ulit. Pag wala kami makitang provision in the exercise of the police power of the local government code, then we can.
That's good to know.
Great.
Let's take a short break. Legal Help Desk will return after these reminders. You're still watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. And we are still joined by our guest, Gary Domingo, Chief of the Business Permit and Licensing Office for Quezon City.
All right, let's continue answering a few more questions from our viewers. We have a phone-in question. Our caller's name is Inigo. Hi, Inigo. What is your question?
Hi. My question is, I dined in a restaurant in BGC, and I'm just wondering if people are covered for restaurant malpractice if someone has a food poisoning incident.
So what happened, Inigo? Were you the victim of food poisoning?
Yes. Apparently, I was having lunch with a good friend, and I ordered a sea bass on rock salt in one of those fine dining restaurants there. Then after eating, I suddenly had itchiness and a reddish feeling after the meal. So I rushed myself to the hospital after.
And then what did the hospital or doctors find after they examined you?
Well, they informed me that I had a reaction with the food that I just ate. And it's usually caused by a reaction for food that's been frozen or not cooked properly.
Okay. All right, so maybe you can ask Gary.
Gary,
as I've said earlier, complaints like that can be addressed by our office, but to prove that, we again need the medical certificate, maybe the receipt that on the same day that you experience that, yun talaga yung day na kumain ka sa restaurant na yun. So that could be a good start for us to go to the establishment. And I said, merong medical certificate dito at sabi ng doktor na food poison nga siya at meron siyang resibo na hawak na same day. Ay, ito yung nagkaroon siya ng food poisoning. So, pinapag-explain namin sila.
All right.
Okay.
So to answer Bruce's question,
I'm wondering, is Inigo still on the line or wala na? I was just wondering kung nakakuha ba siya ng medical certificate, na-keep niya ba yung receipt, and maybe if we can prove, di ba, na
yun
connected
yung sinasabi
yung dalawa.
ko na information na kailangan malaman ng ano natin, ng mga consumer natin na other than we are guarding their right also, due process should also prevail na kailangan bigyan din natin ng right tong ipaliwanag. And
the only way
to weigh yung sitwasyon is ito yung dokumento, well-documented yung nangyari, o ito, sige, you answer that. Kasi due process pa din.
Kasi iba pwedeng sabihin, allergic reaction yan ng customer. But then if you have a doctor saying naman na, no, this is usually caused by frozen food, in the case of Inigo, not stored properly, then it might really be the liability.
But defense ba yun? Defense ba yun? No other person, let's say no other person, earlier you had that case, no other person got sick.
No, it's not a defense, of course. We'll be handling it on this case lang.
All right.
You know?
Kasi that's what we normally say.
It could be a good thing na marami kayo.
Yes.
Pero not because iisa ka, that doesn't mean na yung right mo hindi naman na-violate o hindi ka
And more often than not, because the penalty is possible closure, they'll find a way to.
And Gary actually made a good point nung commercial break nag-uusap tayo na it is more effective for consumers to report to the local government kasi pag court nga naman, minsan yung ginastos mo sa pagkain and dun sa ospital, mas maliit kesa sa babayaran mong lawyer, pag-file mo pa sa court, yung pagpunta mo sa hearing, no?
Yeah. So when it comes to food complaint, it goes against our interest, but maybe you don't really need a lawyer.
Exactly. It goes against our interest, but we're advising consumers out there to go to your local government and offices like the one that Gary heads na they can revoke permits or address your complaints right away. Okay. Bruce is asking us, aside from serving bad food, what other acts committed by restaurants can be considered as violations of consumer acts?
Ang una-una, when you're talking of a restaurant, talagang ang number one naman na basis ng complaint nila is usually sanitation.
Okay.
Yung dumi, yun usually. Pero of course, if there are arrogant or disrespectful mga restaurant personnel, staff, of course, pwedeng i-address yan.
O may iba pa yung, kunwari security, yung mga security na, or yung mga bouncers din minsan that can be very rude, pwede rin i-complain sa office nyo.
Tsaka yung may nawala kang gamit sa loob.
Ayan, very interesting topic.
That's very important.
What do you mean if I left my phone? If I left my phone in a restaurant and then when I came back, wala na doon.
Pwede naman magreklamo sa atin para ipaalam sa kanila because it's not just the food that they should see to it na maayos. Of course, kung kakain tayo sa restaurant, sa consumer, gusto natin safe tayo. How can we eat properly if we keep looking at our bags because we know that we are not protected? So part of their obligation is also security of the consumer.
What if there's a notice that says we are not going to be liable for things?
Actually, Karen is discussing that. It's like the contract of adhesion you find in mga bus tickets. Di ba meron ng Supreme Court on the matter? Yung contract of adhesion.
You cannot waive your liability. So yung tama, so Gary makes a good point. It is the responsibility of establishments to provide security to their customers. Kaya yung mga sa inyo, pag nawalan kayo ng gamit, he was telling us earlier, meron customer nawalan ng iPhone sa isang restaurant and they were able to intervene and make the restaurant replace the iPhone. So keep that in mind, customers. That's very good information.
Very good information. All right.
And David is asking us, what government agencies can I go to again in order to file a complaint against a restaurant that served us food that resulted in giving me and my family E. coli? What legal recourse do I have? Ito yung pinag-uusapan na natin.
Kasi kung food poisoning yan, ang pwede natin ikaso talaga is for damages.
Which is a court case, right?
So it's a court case. You file a case if you want to ask for damages, you go to the court and file a civil case against establishment. But as I've said, kung ang gusto mo lang is madinig ka, pupunta ka sa local. Ang sigurado, madidinig ka nung establishment.
And it's possible that maybe because the penalty nga is closure, is possible closure, they might provide some form of...
Mas mabilis at least na resolution ng kaso. No? Gary, sorry, I have another question. Yung meron nagtanong ng other acts of violation, di ba? Paano naman yung mga parang unfair practices ng restaurants? Sometimes meron iba mag-advertise na coupons for 50% off, kunwari. But then, meron palang fine print, pag dinala mo na doon, ay hindi kailangan may minimum purchase kayo na 3,000 pesos. So you end up spending more than what you had intended. Just
yung mga ganyan na mga
promos.
Unfair
may mga nagreklamo na ba sa inyo?
Sa DTI yan nagre-reklamo.
Okay.
Kasi meron din silang mga promos. Sa DTI pa din kasi yung kinukuha ng permit. Per DTI permit number, ganito. So, doon nila normally dinadala.
Okay. So, pag may mga complaint na lumapit sa inyo, you just guide them na, hindi sa amin yan, punta kayo sa DTI. Okay.
And minsan naman, kahit ganun, kung kaya na, sinusubukan na rin namin. Kasi nga local eh. Personal yung approach because the local is headed by a politician.
Right, of course.
So, kung yan national, yung tiga Quezon City naman, residente naman yung nagrereklamo, sinusubukan na namin na puntahan yung establishment and inform them of the complaint lodged against them o yung concern ng consumer natin.
I see. Now, quick question lang. No? For example, I'm eating in a restaurant, in a branch in Makati, but their head office is in Quezon City. Can I?
Yes.
So I can do that.
Yes.
So even if I was in Makati, head office is in Quezon City, I can go to you.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
All right.
We only have a few minutes left, so let's use the remaining time to give a recap of what we have discussed for the benefit of our viewers. So first, I guess let's clarify, no? Just because consumers nga ang mga pumupunta sa restaurants, it doesn't mean that only the Consumer Act of the Philippines applies. Most of the time nga, it doesn't, no? Because when you talk about Consumer Act of the Philippines, it's usually mga distribution, sale of products, or manufacture of products. Yes. So a lot of it has to do with Sanitation Code of the Philippines, and again, if you're a victim of food poisoning, you can go to the courts and file a case for damages. But I think after this episode, we know that the easiest way to address this is go to your local government.
BPLO, the Business Permits and Licensing Office.
Yes, like what Gary has. And any tips, Mr. Domingo?
No, as I've said, the local government is mandated, and we have power to immediately take immediate action on complaints. Because local-based kami. So, kung titingnan mo sa standpoint na mas mabilis, I'm sure if action is, ang action ang inaantay, mas mabilis talaga sa local.
That's great.
That's good to know.
Good to know.
Very comforting to know.
Yeah.
We all eat in restaurants,
Yes.
diba?
Now I can eat in a Quezon City restaurant in peace.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, we'll get Gary's number. But would you know, Gary, all cities should have this business
Permit,
permit
They have.
office.
I'm
And they're,
very sure about
they're
it.
also as accommodating as you or your office.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
That's very comforting to know.
All right, comforting indeed. So unfortunately though, that's all the time we have for today. We'd like to thank our guest for being with us tonight and explaining your legal rights on the issue of consumer rights with regard to restaurants. I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno.
And I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Join us again next Monday as we talk about your legal rights on the issue of consumer rights on travel agencies here on Legal Help Desk. Good night. Eating in restaurants is an enjoyable experience for many. It is also one of the many indulgences people give to themselves. But what happens when that enjoyable experience is ruined, such as the case of Allison?
Mahilig ako kumain sa mga restaurants. Mahilig ako mag-resto hopping. Parang ayun ang passion ko. Gusto ko matry ko every restaurant, whether karinderya, fast food, or fine dine. Fast food, siguro 3 times a week. Kasi minsan tatamad ako magluto. Minsan pag nasa labas ako, ayun yung mas convenient eh, mas mabilis. Parang ito isang local fast food chain, sa may amin lang. So, order ako ng pasta at saka chicken, isa sa mga combo meals nila. So, nung kumakain na akong gano'n, hinahalo ko yung pasta. Hindi naman siyang gano'n kasaucy. So,
when you are in a situation where you're inconvenienced, we'll discuss this with our guest who is in charge of handling such cases in one of the biggest cities in the metro.
Our guest for tonight is Mr. Gary Domingo, Chief of the Business Permit and Licensing Office for Quezon City. Good evening, Mr. Domingo.
Hi, Karen. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Rod. Good evening.
Yes.
Evening. So,
you know, I was so impressed that he's our guest today. He's really had a lot of experiences with business permit, licensing, not only in Quezon City, before for the city.
Before I served as the Chief of Business Permits and Licensing Office in Pasay City for ages during the time of Mayor P.V. Trinidad. And now I'm 2 years into my job as BPLO Chief of Quezon City. Under
Contaminated na yung kung ano man merong food sa kanila dun sa kitchen nila.
What are the laws that apply to restaurant services? What does the government do to protect consumers from restaurants that give bad services? What are the penalties for restaurants that do not follow the laws? Good evening, I am Attorney Karen Jimeno and you are watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you.
And I'm Atty. Nepomuceno. Tonight, we will be discussing your legal rights on the issue of consumer rights with regard to restaurants. What you need to know about your rights as a customer of a restaurant and what you need to do.
Kita mo yung kung ano yung laman ng pasta na yon. So, nung nakasubo na ako, nung hinalo ko siya ulit, merong parang may mga parang paa ng ipis kasi mas spiky siya eh. So, dinala ko siya doon sa counter. Tapos pinakita ko, sabi ko parang may paa ng ipis. So, yung nag-entertain sa akin na crew, parang medyo rude siya. So, tinawag nila yung manager. Tapos tinignan yung manager yung food, yung plate ko, na medyo skeptic siya. Sabi nga, hindi, parang hibla ata to ng karne. Which is hindi naman, kasi pahaba siya eh. Tapos nung na-confirm nga niya na parang paa siya ng ipis, parang nag-offer siya na na nag-sorry naman siya, nag-offer siya ng palitan. Pero hindi na ako, parang ayoko na kasi feeling ko naman, so since merong isang foreign thing na dun sa food ko, feeling ko,